Hello and welcome to the Powered by Rock podcast. We're going to be speaking with Charlie Whittle of the Austin, Texas punk rock band Breaklights today. Breaklights just put out their debut album, Wind Down, after releasing 2 EPs over the past few years and playing together. It's a really rad album that has an old school pop punk sound. After loving the music and chatting a bit with Charlie, I figured I may as well bring the man on for a full conversation to get the lowdown on the band and see what's going on with Breaklights. That's what I aim to find out right after this. You're listening to the Powered by Rock podcast with your host, Isaac Kuhlman. The Powered by Rock podcast was created to help showcase some of the best rock musicians in the world and to pass on to future generations the rock music that has inspired rock fans around the world for decades. We want listeners to be able to hear great stories and life experiences directly from their favorite artists, as well as dig deeper into music theory and talk rock like no other show you've ever heard. This isn't about looking cool, it's about getting real and having a great time. Without further ado, let's start the show. All right. Hello and welcome to the Power by Rock podcast, everybody. Today I'm happy to bring on Charlie from the punk band Breaklights to talk about their new record, Wind Down, their mini summer tour, and a few other upcoming highlights. So, hey, Charlie, welcome to the show.
Hey, man. How are you?
Good. Glad to have you here. So before we get into some of the other great topics I want to bring up today, first I want to ask you kind of about how you guys got together in Breaklights, because I know that you guys didn't just start playing music a couple of years ago or anything. You probably have been in other bands and kind of all came together. So before 2016, what were you guys kind of doing that led to Breaklights becoming a band in itself?
So the original Breaklights drummer and I have been playing together for most of our adult lives. Yeah. We started playing in, I think, 95 or 96 when we were like 14 or 15 years old. Okay. His name's Tron. He was in the band until about 2018. Until our new drummer came on, Steve. And then our guitarist, Dan, the guy that sings some of the other songs on the album, he's been playing with me since, I want to say about 2008. We played in another band prior. So, yeah, these guys are familiar dudes to me. We've been playing together for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, Austin's not exactly like one of those towns where like nobody plays instruments or anything. Like, I remember walking in, like, I've been to Austin a few times, and pretty much anywhere you go, like in a hotel or a restaurant, you can kind of just tell that there's somebody there that plays music, and they usually have like a special haircut, or they'll have like a mustache or something that makes them on. Yeah. Like, that guy's definitely in a band, and you know he is.
Musicians are everywhere here, but surprisingly hard to find people that you click with and you want to play with.
Yeah, for sure. Especially as you get older, it's kind of like a dating site. It's like, hey, who wants to join my band? We're like 40 now.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, anyone in a band will tell you that it's basically like dating someone. So you have to get along and click.
Yeah. Awesome. So you guys kind of started recording seemingly immediately after forming. Did you guys know that this was kind of like a band that you want to take more seriously, or was it just something that you'd already been doing with other bands, and this is kind of just the kind of process that you kind of expected? Because most bands don't start recording for maybe a year or two after kind of starting playing, because it's like the first band or, a totally new experience. They might go off in a different direction.
Right. Yeah. We, honestly, when we started the band, it was supposed to be, let's just have fun with this. Let's not be too serious. Mm-hmm. And that the first couple of months we kept saying that, and then just immediately kind of changed gears and we're like, let's go record, and let's record with the guitars from the Descendants. So we went up and recorded with Stefan Egerton in Tulsa, I think about 4 months after we started the band.
Yeah.
We actually were Breaklights was briefly a band in 2011 for about a year.
Gotcha.
And then we really didn't do anything, noteworthy. And then when January 2016, we started back up, and we had some of the old songs, that we kind of reworked and then wrote some new stuff, and we went and recorded like immediately, and actually, got pretty serious pretty quickly there, which kind of went against what we had decided to do. Yeah. It was supposed to be just kind of like a fun hobby kind of thing. And then we were having so much fun. So,
yeah. And then I think you guys started, I think that you said something in your bio. I think you guys actually started your next EP or whatever was at the Blasting Room, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. The next one, we went to the Blasting Room. Similar thing, actually. I remember talking with Tron, my old drummer, about where we were going to record next. And I think let's just do something local, just, whatever studio we can find here. And then just immediately switch gears. We're like, why don't we go to the Blasting Room? like top tier studio. But yeah, so we did that, and that was a blast. I mean, I guess pun intended, but
yeah,
it was so fun. We spent a week up there and recorded with a guy named Chris Beeble, and did 6 songs in about 5 days, I think.
Nice. So I'm going to assume that you might be a Descendants fan in some way, considering recorded with everybody from the band, basically.
Yeah, no, we're huge Descendants fans. Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. And then obviously I think, when we talk about influences and, genre that you're in, so you don't go super, super poppy and you don't go super hard. You're kind of somewhere in the middle. Like you got somewhat hard sounding music, but then you kind of have somewhat melodic and pop sounding vocals. I liken it to kind of like a mix between Alkaline Trio and Bowling for Soup, for lack of a better word, because it's like something super serious and something not so serious at all. And then it's right in the middle. It's like,
okay,
you kind of get a little bit of each thing, a little bit of sound of each thing. It's probably not a great comparison, but because they're such different bands, those two, but for some reason, that's what I hear when I listen to you guys. Maybe you can give some of our listeners a little bit more sense of what musical influence you have other than the Descendants, obviously, to make sense of what I'm hearing and why it sounds so unique to what I'm thinking in my brain.
Yeah. No, I think you're kind of onto something there. Personally, like when I've written songs in my life, I always my 2 main influences, I would say, are like old Green Day and then Jawbreaker. And okay. I kind of meld those two together. And a lot of the songs I write, it's got that poppy melodic element, but it's also got that sort of deeper moodiness to it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't know, every time I sit down to write a song, I kind of try to capture something like, from those 2 bands.
Yeah.
It's just always been that way. I grew up, I was 13, 14 in 1994 when the year punk broke, Yeah. So Green Day was a huge influence on me, Dookie and Insomniac. So I feel like I still hear that a lot in the songs I write. I can't not write like that.
Yeah.
It's just so natural to me.
Yeah. I mean, you've been doing at this rate, it's like what now, 27, 28 years that it's been kind of that sound. So it's kind of hard to just I'm going to go write a country tune or whatever now. It's like, I'm going to switch time signatures or whatever.
Yeah. And I've played we had before Breaklights, we had another band. It's kind of leaned more indie rock, but the guitarist for that band, wrote really indie rock style, but when I would write to it, it still came out really poppy and Green Day. So the 2 styles mixed actually kind of well. That's how I write, man. I can't get away from it.
Band I played in, I'm a singer, songwriter, guitar player by, my multiple years of doing that. But when the last band I played in, I played drums, and the lead singer was like a folksy guy. Like he wrote kind of jokey songs in a folky kind of format. But then I'm like, I love punk music. I love indie rock, but I was like always more drawn to like punk music. So when I sat down on the drums, I'd be like playing like this totally upbeat punk, kind of sound. And he's like, holy shit, this sounds awesome. And now it sounds like an actual song. Whereas before it kind of just sounded like a, singer songwriter performing a song.
Right.
And he was like blown away. He's like, this sounds so much better when it's like 2 would be different kind of genres blending together.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
It's a lot of fun.
I think some of the best music probably happens that way. People from totally different worlds, kind of combining.
Yeah. And it's, when I get into bands, I don't ever think like, who's the guys that want to play punk music? It's like, who wants to play music? And then you just kind of see if it's a natural fit more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
Nice. So let's talk about the new album because, this album's freaking awesome. I did a review for it on the site. It's called Wind Down. You can see it. Well, there. It's kind of hard to do that backwards. I think, what do you guys call it? Like 10 new stereo favorites. But I mean, I would say these are 10 songs that I would consider to be the perfect road trip music. I know that doesn't sound like a compliment, but in my mind, if you're on a road trip and you want to listen to albums, like that's where I got all, when I was younger, that's where I got all my favorite albums by going on road trips and playing them. And, you know, I've played this already a dozen times or more now, and I like the diversity on this album. I've gone back and listened to all your guys' EPs and all your singles, and, you know, there is obviously diversity on this because I think some of it stems from Dan, the guitar player, singing and writing songs for this album for the first time, right? So can you kind of talk about how that dynamic has kind of shifted from just you writing everything to now having two singer-songwriters?
Yeah. So we started writing this album, I think it was mid to late 2019. Okay. And when we started it, you know, it was just another Breaklights album with me writing and singing everything for the most part. And then the pandemic happened, and, you know, everyone's worlds were kind of turned upside down, including ours. And I became super busy because, you know, my daughter, we had her home, and, you know, everyone was home and just all the time. And I didn't have a ton of time to write, but I still wanted to write and work on stuff. And Dan had written a song or two for the past band we were in that I really, really love. And I know he's a great songwriter. So I just asked him, like, would you be interested in writing some songs for this? I think he had already maybe showed me a couple songs that he was kind of demoing just for himself. And I was like, those are great. And so we just like kind of decided, him and I, that he would start kind of singing and writing, you know, with me in the band, and which was great for me because I'm just, even if I had time to write, I'm just so slow at writing songs. And the older I get, the slower I get. I feel I just, you know, it takes me like 2 months to write a song. Sometimes I just, especially when I get to the lyrics, because I'm so picky about them that I just kind of roll over lyrics in my head until I just can't stand hearing it anymore. But yeah, that's kind of how that came to be. I mean, it was mainly the pandemic and plus me just writing slowly. And I just asked him, and it worked out great because I think his 3 songs on the record are probably some of the strongest. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, obviously, you know, when you're young, you have a lot of anger or resentment or whatever. It's like really easy to write music when you're like in that headspace of like, you got something to say. But like, as you get older, you're like, you're more comfortable. You have an income, you have like families. Yeah. It's like, I can't really just go write about like how pissed off I am with the world because it's not so bad now. Like, it takes a little bit longer to actually find something to write about. Mm-hmm. So, you know, songs like Aging Well in Illinois are kind of strictly acoustic guitar songs as well, which kind of throws the diversity around a bit too, because instead of just having punk in there, you know, you got the acoustic guitar songs as well. So was there any thought about adding other music like those in particular? Did you guys just think, hey, these don't really need any other music, these are strong enough on their own?
Yeah, we actually had a conversation that we were just, we wrote those for kind of segues. Sure. They weren't really supposed to be their own separate track. We were actually planning on tacking those on to the ends of other songs because they're both really short. Yeah. That idea came along before we'd actually written them. So then when we wrote them, I think both of them, especially Aging Well, Dan's song, was so strong, you know, that it just needed to be its own track. Yeah. And it helped us fill out. That's where the title of the
album comes from, right? So the Wind Down with
it kind of came after. So yeah, we had titled the album Wind Down right up front. Gotcha. I came up with that because, you know, it just felt right because we are like, in a way, and I mean, we've got a lot of stuff going on right now, but in a way, you know, we're old dudes and we're winding down. You know, this album, you know, I don't know that it's our last album, but like it just kind of felt like it maybe could be, especially during the pandemic. So it's just kind of like, let's say Breaklights, Wind Down. But then after Dan, you know, started working on his acoustic song, he was like, "Oh, I threw in Wind Down in there," and I was like, "Oh, awesome! That's pretty cool," you know. And so we do the harmony on it to kind of highlight it, and it worked out perfectly. But yeah, that seems like that's a lot of people's favorite song.
Yeah, I mean, it's so different, obviously, because everything else is, you know, driving punk song, and then all of a sudden, like, I think that's the end of the first side as well of the LP. So it's like,
Yeah.
ends with that. And it's like, oh shit, like that's a totally different way. And it's a great ending for that side of the album.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Did you guys have like
great.
any track listing in your mind when you were doing this? Like, it has to kind of be this way. I mean, some people just don't care. They kind of just throw it together. Other people obsess over it. What's your guys' process on that?
Yeah. I fall in the obsessed category for sure. I obsess about a lot of stuff with the band, and yeah, track list. I actually write songs for spots on the album. So like I write a song and I'm like, it has to sound this certain way because it has to fill in this spot. I like jot down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, and like, oh, I need a track 3. What's that going to sound like to me? And that's kind of how I jump into writing it.
That's interesting. Yeah. Do you have like a specific set of numbers of songs when you start, or is it like, because I know like, I think it was like the first like 4 Weezer albums, for example, all had 10 songs on it. And I was like, that's pretty cool. They just have 10 songs. And I know that Rivers Cuomo, for example, would write hundreds of songs and then distill it down to 10. So I'm like, how did he ever stop at 10? Like he could have put 20 on there, but I kind of always felt like 10 was a pretty strong number, and that's what you got here.
Yeah. That's funny that you mentioned Weezer, because I actually mentioned those first 3 Weezer albums when I was talking to the guys. I'm like, let's do 10. And then we cheated a little bit with the acoustic shorter songs. So looking back, I kind of wish we had written maybe 12.
Yeah. Well, Pinkerton ends with Butterfly, so that's only like
that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Every now and then I just feel like it needs maybe a couple more rockers, but you know, it is what it is. It's done.
Well, you always got album number 2 to look forward to.
That's true. Yeah.
So it'll be Wind Up next time.
Possibly.
All right. So one of my favorite songs on the album is Fool Me Once. That is one of the songs that Dan wrote. I think it's that line that's like, I want to be the one to ruin all your fun. That just like, as it's sung, I'm like, that's an awesome line to sing. Like maybe I'm just a cynical jerk, but yeah, like when you're in a relationship, like, or something goes bad, you're like, yeah, no, I want revenge.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a cool song. Now you guys kind of do write about relationships quite often on the album. Not every song is about relationships in general, about like, you know, falling in love or anything, but is that a conscious thing, or is that just kind of like, because a lot of songs in general, high volume of percentage of all songs are written about falling in and out of love?
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak for Dan so much, but I don't know. I just write what's coming to me, you know, and I would say that on this album, there's a few songs that are much more personal to me than I usually write. Like deeply personal. Like there's one about my daughter. And then 65 is a song that I was just really feeling as I wrote it. It's kind of about, you know, working your life away and not having any time for your family. You know, my daughter's very young, and I feel like sometimes I'm just missing everything. And I'm going to look back one day and just have memories of standing at my job, you know, and it sucks sometimes, but you know, it is what it is. We all do it. But, so yeah. And then I have a Illinois about my wife. So yeah, there's some pretty personal ones, more personal than usual that I typically write. And I know that a couple of the Dan songs, like the Fairview, the last song is very, very personal to him, about his father.
Yeah, and I was going to say, not everything on here is about, you know, a love, falling in and out of love relationship. You know, obviously, you know, with Fairview 1991, Dan's talking about, you know, his father leaving his family back when he was young. So did you guys have a conversation? Was he ever like reluctant to kind of put that out there as like a song that would be on an album? Or, you know, it's pretty emotionally heavy track for a punk album.
It is, yeah, for sure. That song, I've told him time and time again that song makes me tear up. Yeah. Even the demo he sent me made me tear up quite a few times listening to it. Yeah, I loved that song as soon as he showed it to me. I really couldn't believe that, you know, how good it was. Not that he's not talented enough, but it was just wow, it just came out of nowhere. And yeah, I don't think he minds putting it out there. I mean, he's talked about it to me. A few of the lines in there, I had to actually ask him, like, did that really happen? Like, what, you know, kind of ask him what this and that was about. And he's pretty open about it. I don't know how open he would be for this, but without him being here, but
yeah, for sure.
But he's pretty open to us about it. But yeah, that's probably one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to hear a song that'll kind of break your heart about, you know, a young kid losing his father, not by accident, but basically on purpose, his dad leaving him on purpose. I mean, that's pretty hard to hear. And then that song is a great way to end the album, I think, because it's like, there's so many, it's kind of a bit of a roller coaster of an album. So you got the fast ones, you got the slow ones, and then it kind of leaves on this like really cathartic, like, you know, soul crushing song. And you're like, wow, that's a pretty heavy way to end that album.
Yeah. It was tough for me because I covet that last track spot. Past bands I've been in, I've really gone all out for that last song on the album, and I was planning on doing it for this album, but when I heard that, I was like, no, that's the last song. Yeah. It wouldn't work as well anywhere else than it does there.
I mean, you definitely don't want to start the album with something like that. People are like, oh shit. No. This is too hard.
Yeah. It's also kind of a departure, you know, like the way it sounds is very, it's probably the most different song that we've ever done.
Yeah. It's a bit more complicated stylistically, a little more intricate instrumentation in there as well.
It leans more kind of Weaker Thans or Jets Brazil than, you know, our normal old kind of Green Day-ish song.
Yeah. Cool. So now on the flip side, you guys actually do some fun stuff, like you in the video for When You Talk, you guys all dressed up like monsters of classic cinema essentially, and jumped around and kind of lip sync to your song or whatever. But how'd that idea come about? Because it wasn't simply just disguise your horrible faces, was it?
Well, partly. Well, we've done 3 videos. That's our 3rd videos that we did with the same guy, and they look great. He always does a great job, but the other 2 are just basically us standing there playing, and we knew we did not want to do that. It was like, not again. It's kind of boring to us, you know. So let's do something fun and interesting. And I've said this before, and to a couple people, but I really like the idea of taking a serious song, like When You Talk is a very serious song to me, and putting it to something sort of goofy. Because I got the idea because I'm a huge Superchunk fan and a Bob Mould fan, and both of those bands, their videos are very like silly, for the most part, and it just works for me because their music is not silly; it's very serious and sincere, and just something about that mixture works for me. I love it, and I feel like we achieved the outcome that I wanted. I really love the way it mixes. We just came up with that idea and kind of fleshed it out. And, you know, 3 monsters basically living together as adults, but are children in a way. You're just kind of going through their day, eating breakfast, and, you know, having little toy gun fights and stuff like that, and practicing. Like they're in a band.
I was gonna say, maybe that's where I kind of got the Bowling for Soup vibe, because I believe they're also from Texas, and they kind of have that. They can write serious songs, but I feel like every time you ever see them, they're always being goofy about something or another.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I think they're from Wichita Falls, I think, Texas, which is up north, up near Dallas.
Not really even Texas anymore if you're from Dallas.
Yeah,
I'm a huge hater of the Dallas Cowboys, so I just call that its own country.
Gotcha.
And I'll go to the rest of anywhere else in Texas, but I hate going through Dallas.
Gotcha. We just played there this weekend.
That's right. You did,
yeah.
Well, I'm sorry that you had to go there, but hopefully it was an awesome show. Because I did see some highlights. It was a good show. Look good.
Yeah, it was fun.
So actually, let's talk about the little mini tours that you guys do, because we'll come back to some of the other stuff as well, because since we're on topic, you guys kind of do a little bit of a weekend warrior schedule. Obviously, you guys probably all have jobs, as most people in rock bands do these days, because let's face it, being in a guitar-based band isn't exactly the most lucrative thing anymore. But what's the kind of thing that you're looking for as far as, you know, keeping this band going, kind of pros and cons of being in it right now versus, you know, being in it younger? Do you guys just kind of want to keep it kind of local? Do you guys want to, I know you guys are going to go play fest later this year, but are you guys trying to do like actual regional tours, national tours, or anything like that? Or is it like just based on what you guys feel like you can achieve right now?
I can only speak for right now. I mean, right now we are happy with what we're doing. We've been fortunate enough to make all these connections around the state. Texas is massive, as you know, so we have quite a few cities to choose from, and we've infiltrated as many of the bigger cities that we can, and kind of got some good friends in all those places, and we have really good shows at most of them. So it's fun for us to do that. I actually really like playing more out of town than here in Austin, but it's almost just it's more worth it for us to do stuff like we're doing right now and playing all around the state to where we know we'll have a crowd and people will be into it. Then
so you're not excited to go to like Roanoke, Virginia and have like 6 people show up?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to if people knew who we were, and we're still small time, so I would love to do a tour, and I'm not saying it's out of the cards. We've talked about it a few times. We actually were planning one for our 2018 Wiretap release. We had one that we were actually booking, and it fell through personal stuff, but I would love to do it one day. It's just 2 of us have small children now, and actually Dan, he's not playing with us on these shows because he just had a child. We have a fill-in for him, but yeah, I mean it's fun. We split them up, so it's easy for us to, we're not playing on Mondays and Tuesdays. We split them up, so we're doing Fridays and Saturdays at these shows, and kind of do like 2 a weekend. So it's actually just the perfect thing for us to do, because we feel like we're accomplishing something, but we're not going too far. We live right in the center of the state, so we just drive all around
whichever direction you need to go. That's cool, because like I have he's an 18-month-old kid now, and I'll tell you, kids ruin all the fun. Like that song. They're the ones that'll ruin all your fun. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I have a very supportive wife, so she lets me go and do my thing, and never has any complaints, and so I'm very thankful of that from her, and she understands this is something that I've been doing for forever, and it's important to me. So well, I don't ever say this to my wife, but if I ever said, what do I love like more, like my wife or playing music? And I'm like, I've been playing music a lot longer than I've known my wife. So you obviously play bass in the band. Now, not a lot of rock bands in general have bass-led frontmen that actually sing and write the songs, unless you're somebody like Primus or Rush, who have like, these virtuoso behemoths in their band. But did you actually start out playing bass, or did you kind of become a bassist by default after playing guitar first? Well, I mean, I learned guitar first. I had my dad's guitar when I was just a kid, and kind of learned stuff on that. I learned some Beatles songs from his Beatle book on guitar, but I don't know. I'm not an amazing guitarist or anything. I write stuff on the guitar, but it's just really simplified. That's why I have people that are talented play with me. And I when I show them songs, it's usually on guitar, just stripped down, and then we take it from there. I'm like, I need something here. I need this here and this here and this here, and usually let them kind of run with it. But I've just found the bass is easier for me to sing with, and it's any band I've played in, I've played bass and sang.
Nice.
It just feels comfortable to me, and I don't even know if I could play guitar and sing. I've never really tried it like in a band. At all these years, I've never strapped on a guitar and tried to sing in a band, but
that's actually funny, because that was going to be kind of my next question, is like, how do you write the songs if you're not playing guitar to kind of start it? Because that's how most singer-songwriters write, right? You play like a simple chord progression on guitar, and then you start coming up with the melody and the lyrics. So how do you go about it?
I honestly, when people ask, what do you play? I'm like, well, I play bass, but that's not my passion. My passion is songwriting. So I've always loved like the construction of a song and just digging into that. And so I'm all about the melody and just the hooks and just making a good song from start to finish. And I even feel like sometimes like the bass really suffers because of that, because it's kind of the last thing on the list that I think about. I think about the melody first, and even the guitars. I come to the guitar, whatever guitarist I'm playing with, and I say, I kind of hear this here, and I usually let them, sometimes I'll have some ideas, like I'll kind of hum like what I hear, and like I hear an octave here doing this, but a lot of times I've found that I get a better result if I just let them take it home and kind of mess with it, and they'll come back and surprise me with something like, oh, I really like that. Dan's great at that. I'll come to him, and like a few days later he'll send me a little demo back. What about this? And I'll be like, oh, I love that. So that's kind of how it works, And then Steve, our drummer, he's usually kind of the last one to come into the picture, and we take our fleshed out idea and start working it out with him at practice.
I mean, obviously the drums, it kind of follows the bass. If you've already kind of figured out some of the bass, it can kind of flow with that as well, because that's the married positions in a band usually is the bass and the rhythm section, right? The bass and the drums.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. So now obviously this album is, people can go get this on your website or through Wiretap Records. We'll throw some links obviously in the show notes, but can you explain like how releasing the album has gone thus far and the reactions you're getting from fans and media? Like, are you getting surprised by kind of some of the notoriety that you're getting, or is it like, yeah, that's about what I expected?
I'd say I'm getting a bit surprised. Yeah. There's been more talk and kind of, I guess, feedback to us about this one. It's probably because it's a full length. This is our first full length. So this is our fourth release, but I even said to the guys, several times, I was like, I bet people are going to be more receptive because it's just more songs. Yeah. So I think that's part of it, but I also think we kind of dug deeper on this one, and it sounds better. Our other recordings were good too, but I think this one sounds the best. It's super slick, and to answer your question, I would say we're getting more feedback and better feedback, and it seems like the comments I'm getting are like more intense, and just people connecting with it a bit more overall.
Nice.
I've been told a couple of times it's our best release by a couple of people, so I don't know if that's true, but
the best one I've heard so far. But I wasn't listening to you guys when you released the first EP, so it's like different when you're following a band from start to now versus hearing it first and then going back and listening to that stuff. But like you said, it's got most variety. It's got more kind of intricacies, and it's more it's more fleshed out than an EP might be. An EP might be like, here's 4 songs that fit together, let's go record them, let's put an EP out, versus an album where you kind of have to figure out, like you do, track listings, specific things that you need to go in there and do, and then actually make it happen, right?
Right. Yeah.
Cool. So now you guys are, obviously, I mentioned before that you guys are playing Fest in Florida for, what is it, the 20th Fest, I think? Yeah, Fest 20.
Yeah, 20.
Yeah, so I'm going to say that this might be the raddest lineup of bands I've seen in a long, long time. Is it the first time you guys are playing Fest?
Yes, the first time. Yeah, we're so excited. Yeah.
Yeah, so what do you kind of expect from going there? Obviously, it's a 3-day festival. It's got literally like most punk bands that you know of. I mean, minus like the Fat Records kind of label, but like a bunch of East Coast and Midwest punk bands. Cursive is there. Like all these other like cool like alt rock indie bands are there. I'm trying to figure out a way to go from Vegas to there, because I'm like, this is like the best concert I've seen on paper for a long time. So we'll see if it happens, but it would be really cool to go.
Yeah, you should go.
I'll just sleep in the parking lot and be like, whatever. So what are you kind of expecting from it? Are you just saying, let's go out and play? Who gives a shit? Like we'll just rock our faces off, or what's kind of your attitude?
Yeah, I mean, my drummer, Steve, he's been a few times, I believe. He knows more of what to expect than I do. I've never been. I'm not really a big like concert guy or festival guy. I've always had like a bit of kind of anxiety around stuff like that. So usually like logistics, like how am I going to park, and how am I going to get there, and where am I going to stay, and all that stuff. So I have a bit of kind of social anxiety, I guess. So that's where my brain always goes, especially for a big because my old bands have played, kind of festivals or really big shows before, and it's just kind of like it's nerve-wracking, but
yeah,
I'm sure it'll be fine. We're gonna have fun. I'm so excited to do it and for the opportunity.
yeah,
It's kind of a, I mean, it sounds kind of stupid, but like a dream come true for us to be able to play with bands like that, and just seeing our name on the flyer is just like unbelievable.
Yeah. And I saw that you'd posted that you were mentioned on there twice. I was like, yeah, I think they copy and pasted like 1 or 2 lines a couple times on there. I was like, yeah, that's weird.
There's about 4 bands that in the line with us that got repeated, but
it's funny enough. Taking Days and Odd Robots actually, I think, are your label mates on Wiretap. And from San Diego, California area. Met the guys from Taking Days. Actually, funny enough, I have their sticker right here, which is
nice.
Funny, but, yeah. That's gonna be cool because I like to see like good bands kind of finding a way to connect, and usually it comes from like a festival or something like that where all these bands from across the country get to kind of meet for the first time.
Yeah. We played the Wiretap showcase. I think that was 2018.
Yeah, like their 4th year party.
I don't remember which one it was. It was 3rd or 4th, I want to say, and we played that, and we got to meet the Odd Robot guys. We're huge fans of that band.
Yeah.
And then a few other bands we played with that night, and that was fun. But yeah, I'm super excited to meet more people and more label mates. I've been talking to the guy from Talk Show Host a little bit on Instagram, and he seems really cool, and looking forward to seeing them. I like that band.
Yeah. How did you guys end up on Wiretap in the beginning? I mean, obviously you said you released one, I think it was in 2018 with them. But now you've released a full length on their record label. How did that kind of come about?
We released our first EP, Instructed to Fail, in 2016, and I was really, really working my ass off to get it out there, get the songs out there, and we got on a few comps. And then one day, Rob from Wiretap just reached out to me and asked if he could put our song "Drag Me Down" on. I think it was "Drag Me Down." On a compilation of his. He does those 4 comps per year kind of thing on Wiretap. And I said, sure. And, he's just like, I really like it. And so I kind of stayed in contact with him a bit and told him, hey, we're about to go to the blasting room. That's before that happened. Would you be interested in hearing what we're doing? And he said, yes, send it as soon as you can. So I think he wanted to kind of get it in the docket if he liked it.
Yeah.
He didn't come right out and say like, I'm doing it, but once he heard it, he agreed and he liked it. And so that's how that came to be. And we put that album out. I think it was 2018. Actually, it came out in 2018. We recorded it in 2017.
Gotcha.
So that's how that kind of worked out. And then we did 2 more. Well, we did like a digital single with him a year or so later, and then now this. So that's kind of our 3rd Wiretap release.
Gotcha. Yeah, he seems to have a pretty good ear for music because every single band that's on that label, I'm like, Jesus Christ, these are all great bands.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
So have I missed anything else? Are you guys doing anything the next couple of months that you want to let people know about? I know you guys kind of have some more Texas stuff. I'm not sure if this will come out before you play all those shows, but anything else coming up in the next few months that you want people to know about?
Nothing really comes to mind. We've been kind of talking about doing another video for one of the songs from the album, maybe something not as elaborate as the last video, but sort of still talking about that. And then, just finishing up these shows. And then we're kind of trying to dig into our old songs a bit. That's the plan. The next plan, dig into our old songs, learn some of the other songs we don't play much. And that kind of stuff takes up all our time, just practicing and getting prepared. And we want to have
trying to relearn the old songs that you've like already forgotten. You're like, man, that was like 6 years ago. I don't remember how to play that song.
It's tough. Yeah, no, it's tough. I have to learn it like I'm a fan of the band or something. I'm like, I don't know how I played this.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the guys from Psychedelic Porn Crumpets. He's like, luckily some guy on the internet like tabbed out all of our songs. And I'm like, this was awesome.
Yeah, if only people were doing that with our songs. But
exactly.
That would help me immensely.
Yeah. Cool. So we'll add some links to the show in the music to the music in the show notes below this episode. But do you have anything else you'd like to say to any of the fans that might not have heard of you guys or anything before we go today, so that way they can come check you out and see what your music's all about?
Yeah, I mean, I just, like I said before, I just appreciate everyone's response to the album. I want as many people to hear it as possible. So check it out if you have it. We're on Spotify and Apple Music, of course, and videos up on YouTube. It's called When You Talk. So yeah, I mean, we're a smallish band, but I think when people hear us, they're usually pretty receptive. I think we put out a quality product. So
yeah, you're not putting out like garage demos or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We try pretty hard on our stuff and want everything to look great and sound great.
And last question before we go today, other than Breaklights, what new music would you recommend people to check out?
New music. So what I'm listening to right now is the new Dan Vapid and the Cheats.
Nice
record. So I'm a big Dan Vapid fan, Screeching Weasel fan, and Methadones and all the million bands he's been in. So I'm enjoying that one. So yeah, listen to that.
I still blame Ben Weasel for me being a bad singer, because that's who I grew up listening to. And I'm like, you only have to sing that good. Why would you try harder?
Exactly. Yeah. It gives you, it's not required in punk rock.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much, Charlie, for the time today. Breaklights, guys, the album is Wind Down. Make sure you go to the show notes below this episode to check out the music. You can find the links to the videos and everything else that you want right below this episode. Remember, the Powered by Rock podcast is powered by our listeners. If you want to show us some support, please be sure to subscribe and share the podcast on social media. You can also make a donation to the podcast to help us keep making some awesome episodes with awesome guests like Charlie. You can find that link in the notes as well. You can see the full video interview on our YouTube channel and on Spotify now as well as also. And if you want to check out some of our articles, album reviews, lists, and interviews, go to poweredbyrock.com to read our absolutely free rocking blog. You can also find merch and gear so you can pick up some items to play and look like a rock legend. That's our show for today. We'll see you soon for the next episode. Until then, rock on.